Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I'm recording from a different location today, indeed on a different screen, but I'm in a different location, which is probably why the audio sounds different right now. But on top of that, I'm also recording on a different screen. I'm not recording on a monitor, I'm actually recording on a TV screen, and OBS didn't like that, because the TV's way bigger than my monitor. So it decided to record, like, the top left of the screen for, like, literally up until now. So yeah, sorry about that. The visuals aren't particularly important in this style of video, I suppose. It doesn't really matter that much, but yeah, it would have been a bit weird. And I'm sorry. Whoopsie doodle. I'll put this at the start of the video, actually, in retrospect, so that you guys know why, and so that you don't all flood my comments with the same thing, because I've tried leaving written messages before, and apparently, much like Ruina players, being true to yourselves, none of you read, so I'm gonna have to tell you straight. It's alright, I don't read either, so fuck it.
Warning, I swear a lot.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Library of Ruina Book Club. We're back. Welcome back to Hod's Book Club. I will once again be reading stories to the Nuggets and the rest of you about the people that we have ruthlessly murdered to get more books. I will be freely discussing spoilers throughout the entire game now that I have beaten it myself. So if you haven't beaten the game yet, I'd highly recommend you either go beat it yourself or go watch someone beat it. Might I recommend to you my series, which has like 40 odd parts on it. And then when you're up to speed, come on back and we'll continue. So, now that the library's been moved to the middle of fucking nowhere, we don't actually have a lot to do, so the book club has become a little more popular because, literally the librarians have nothing to do. So, I have more of an audience. We'll see how long that lasts. But we're now on to Urban Nightmare, which is, there's a lot here. She Association, Puppets, the 8 O'Clock Circus, Sweepers, Index Proselytes, Warp Cleanup Crew, Smiling Faces, The Crying Children, and Other. We'll start with Other because they're usually less important, and we'll go from there. So we'll start with... We'll go with 7 Fixer, then Dante, then... Yeah, we'll do it that way around. Section 3 feels empty these days. Oh, didn't you hear the news? Many of them died in that incident with the distortion last time. Even the guy we counted on resigned and ran off. Right, that happened. I guess that's why the empty seats felt even more noticeable. He seemed pretty refreshed and relaxed on his last day. I wonder why he quit, though. Sure, the work here can be tough, but isn't it still easy compared to some others? Gotta agree with that, beats having to worry about getting axed all the time. Rumors says he went on to join the musicians of Bremen. Why would he join that weird funky band? You tell me, maybe there was something more important than making a fortune and spending the rest of his life in comfort for him. So it does mention, I can't remember where, how, why, and the specifics of it, but it does mention somewhere. In fact, if we could have a quick look at Oink again, if we could have a quick look at Oink. Yeah, Oink mentions the 7 Association right here. And then if we go back down to Urban Nightmare, 7 Association Fixer. So Oink used to be a 7 Association Fixer. That was pretty much confirmed by his entry, which is interesting because these guys are pretty... They seem like they're like quite tame in terms of like how the city is. You get a lot of wacky, crazy characters in the city. These guys are quite refined, quite prim, quite proper, quite professional looking. I guess the term really I'm looking for is professional. They have nice swords, they got those cool jackets, they got the waistcoat. Properly presented. Dante herself, or themself, I guess herself, but I shouldn't assume, is like the epitome of class. Like, look at her. Looks incredible. So it's weird to think Oink came from that, but I guess that was the power of the pianist. That was the impression that thing left on the city. I'm kind of sad that we never encountered the pianist. But although it does make it cooler, I guess, having it be some nebulous thing that just fucked up everything. And I mean everything. It fucked up everything. It set Argalia down his path, it set Roland down his path, it set musicians down on their path. The reverberations, as it were felt everywhere for an extended period of time. 7 Association deals with info and investigations. We collect all kinds of information on this city, though why aren't we disclosing the full details about certain cases to the general public through news outlets or anything, you ask? Some things are better left unknown, for the sake of the safety of this world. Bullshit, you want to sell that. You want to sell that info. That info, you want to sell it. I don't believe you. I like you, Dante. You're very cool. I really like her. I wish her key pages worked better, because it had all of that resistance stuff where it's like if you can create more weak and fatal resistances in your opponents, and then if you like exploit those weaknesses, it creates more weaknesses and stuff like that. I'm really going off of memory here, and I didn't use Dante or the 7 Association fixer pages much at all because, as you guys mentioned, they're not very good, but they could have been good. I feel like they could have been good. There were a lot of fights where and this is one of my biggest failings when playing Ruina, just ignored resistances entirely. I didn't pay attention to them and would do fuck all damage. So something like this could have been incredible. Could have been exactly what I needed, in fact, to, like, win, but apparently it doesn't work very well. I think someone said it might be bugged slightly or something. I don't know. I honestly don't know. But it's cool to think that the 7 Association are essentially a detective association. That's pretty neat. And they're just called 7 as well. They're not even called Le or Tre or any of those. Literally just English 7. I guess that explains why they look so posh. But we move on. Blade lineage isn't known for coordination. It's little more than a cohort of people who have nowhere else to go, or those who carry the intent to murder someone. Most who seek to join us sit at lowly social positions. It's not rare for such people to hold a deadly grudge against someone. You'd best behave before those who are more skilled than you. We may be a band of murderous ruffians, but we understand our place. So Ronin, really, they're kind of going for the more, sinister connotations of Ronin, probably the more realistic interpretations of Ronin, actually, who were ex-samurai who became criminals, basically. They were pretty rough people, although they were mostly mercenaries from what I hear. You know, they just offered their services to whoever would pay for it. But yeah, people who don't have a lot of qualms about murdering, and that definitely comes across with the Blade lineage. But we've got to talk about my boy. My favorite boy. This guy is so fucking cool. There's something about the kimono with a suit underneath it that is just chef's kiss. A+. Fantastic. Marvelous. We value the art of violence more than anything here. Those with an unscathed body are not permitted to join us. A swordsman who does not have a single blade scar on his skin is doubtlessly too careful when he wields his weapon, and his inane hesitation will be an obstacle. Too irresolute to endure the wounds his own blade would leave, let alone the assault of others. A body free of scars is proof of cowardice. Alas, it would be wise not to expose your wounds outside of those on your face. So really, looking at it, everything said here very much plays into Bamboo Hatted Kim's playstyle. And like, I was about to say the intended playstyle, but there really is no intended playstyle when it comes to Ruina, but like, kind of what Bamboo Hatted Kim's key page, kind of leans you towards, if we have a quick look. But back to Bamboo Hatted Kim, I feel like his key page entry, the text entry, really really explains his fighting style. It reinforces how Bamboo Hatted Kim himself fights. For a start, you've got Singular Strike, with the bonuses to combat pages with only one offensive die, basically. Although I guess Singular Strike does work with defensive die. Using a combat page with one non-counter die, the die gains +2 power and yields twice as many emotions in a clash. Yeah, so that would work for a defensive die, but really the intent is offense, let's be real. But actually the relativity to the key page entry is the fact that you're very likely to take a hit in return, because most combat pages in the game have more than one combat die. So this already leans into Bamboo Hatted Kim's thing of like, yeah, you're going to take hits. You're going to take the hits that you dish out, right? That's the whole point of his Singular Strike style. Unrelenting, just taking more hits. Just taking more hits. He's all about taking hits. Now, is he good at taking hits? I mean, Unrelenting is pretty good, I guess, but I don't know. Most of my Bamboo Hatted Kim builds tended to fucking die, so there's that. But the final aspect of this, which of course reinforces his mindset more than anything else, is Yield My Flesh. An attack that's supposed to fail. And it's quite hard to get that attack to fail, actually, a lot of the time, because Bamboo Hatted Kim's bonuses are really good with Singular Strike and Swordplay of the Homeland, and you can throw Psyos on top of that as well. Yeah, it's quite hard to get that to fail, but the whole point of his combat style is to fail that so that you can get to claim their bones going. He might be, like, he's not the only example, but I love this as an example of a character who actually truly embodies what his fighting style is. His personality and his fighting style naturally mesh. It all makes sense. It's all there together. What Bamboo Hatted Kim is, and there's not much to him, to be honest, because we know fuck all, because his key page entry is disappointingly brief. Right, let's go have a look again. That is disappointingly brief. I want to know more about this guy. I don't even know what his face looks like. But everything about this guy is encapsulated within what little we know about him. He is who he is. He is what he is to his core. And that makes him very cool. I really like him. But yeah, that was Bamboo Hatted Kim. Now let's move on to the story characters. Well, the puppets one will be easy. Sheer Association. I remember these guys. I remember them giving me some trouble. Start with a normal fixer. These guys were like the ninjas. Being an organization that is familiar with dealing death, the Sheer's code of honor is to treat everyone equally, as the weight of death is equal for everyone. As long as the request fee is paid, we remove the target with no questions asked, regardless of who the client is, what kind of crime they may have committed, or any other details. The boss of a syndicate known for murdering people in cold blood, a criminal wanted by a street somewhere, laundering an identity for a person of higher status who often bribes, even requests to kill one's own friends and family. We handle all requests without leaning to a side. Of course, we have a duty of confidentiality to uphold for our clients. We mustn't give in and maintain silence even in the face of immediate threats of death. Such are the rules and mindsets that the Sheer Association's members must abide by. However, the recent behavior of the Southern Branch goes against the core values of the Sheer. On top of exerting power for his private interest, his selfish actions are causing severe damage to Section 2. All of us are eagerly waiting for Director Yujin to overthrow this rotten system one day. Well, I'm less sympathetic to them now, to be honest, because they are literally just an assassination association. They're just assassins. That's pretty much what they are. Sounds like they do some other stuff, laundering identities, yeah, sure, but really assassination is their bread and butter, it seems to be. And it kind of leans into that whole ninja, but like Ninja Gaiden style, not actually real ninja kind of style. They're cool, I like them. I kind of wish I made use some more of their stuff. I never touched Boundary of Death. I couldn't be bothered. I just knew it wouldn't work for me on camera and I couldn't be bothered to try. Which is funny because it's the exact opposite mindset I've had in Disco Elysium where I'm like, 22% chance? Yeah, let's go for it. Oh, I like those odds. But I don't know. I think I was struggling enough with this game around about the time we were encountering... Like, Urban Nightmare I think might have been the hardest point of this game for me. I think this is where I struggled the most. It wasn't until Star of the City where I started to pull myself together. So I wasn't particularly inclined to be using decks that really relied on chance, but I guess we'll get there when we get there. From the receipt of the request to preparation for execution, every step of an assassination is carried out covertly. Discreet killing is the Sheer Association's speciality. An all-out war in open fields where numerous people clash at once is not our preferred form of battle, though it's one of the areas where the Lure Association excels. We truly shine when we operate in small numbers. We pursue extreme efficiency in order to kill our target within a limited window of opportunity. Also required is the ability to make quick assessments of the situation in order to swiftly strike the target's vital point with minimal movement. The demand for assassination requests is pretty high these days, as the most surefire way to eliminate people armed with high-quality workshop equipment on top of body augments is sneaking up on them for a fatal blow when they least expect it. Still, the streets aren't being filled with corpses of assassinated targets because there are fixers whose job it is to kill those who are hired for assassination. Fixers are continuing their fierce strife no matter the place. I mean, yeah, I guess assassination becomes more popular, and alongside that, so does bodyguard work. It's a shame. I would have liked to have learned a bit more about the Sheer's field operations and, like, the effects they may well have had, because they were clearly important, but we just heard nothing about them, and this is the only section we learned about. I'd have loved to have learned more about that corrupt piece of shit. Have him come to the library and we deal with him. That would have been fun as well. A bit more Sheer, I think, would have been really cool. But this game was incredibly fucking long already and refused to end already, so maybe I shouldn't be complaining too much, but, you know, now that I've actually beaten the game, I'd love more. I'd love to have more encounters. But then again, when you love a game so much, you're always going to want more, aren't you? Telma Or Thelma, I don't know. Thelma, head of the Southern Branch, has been overworking Section 2 to a nonsensical degree lately. The requests he's giving us are burdensome to take once per week, and he's constantly cramming them down our throats, sapping the strength and will out of our section. It's unclear if we can successfully handle this mission to the library, but it's painstakingly obvious that he'll give us another request to take off immediately afterwards. Even if we could, most of our surviving crew are losing what little motivation they had left. As for why he insists on using Section 2 when the other sections are available, he's probably trying to get rid of Director Eugen because he suspects that our director knows something about the blue reverberation. It's unacceptable that someone could use a branch leader of an association to make a toy of the entire association, color or not, especially if the goal is to remove our Director Eugen. I'm not sure what plan Director Eugen has to overcome this, but I suppose that could wait until we finished our mission. And alas, we'll never know. Because you got bodied by the library. But I either didn't know or forgot that the blue reverberation was involved with this. So, wait a minute. Hold up. I need to check something. I need to get my facts straight. Thelma, you say? Let's check something. Yeah, don't get too excited, you're rushing it. My poor friend is about to faint. Yeah, Thelma. Ah, so that's what happened to him. I see. Right, okay, yeah. So he did get his comeuppance. So yeah, Thelma definitely got his comeuppance. I think Section 2 got off quite lightly considering they were beaten by us. That's a fairly painless death. Whereas he was sliced 1,000,000 odd times and then left to be eaten by sweepers. I can't say he didn't deserve it, fuck that guy, but I can't remember if Argalia even mentions what the promise was. Impossible task. Your choice to only employ Section 2 of the Southern Branch for this. Could have had Section 1 deal with some of them. Little Mr. Prideful Thelma tried pulling a shabby scheme to get rid of Section 2 so he could keep his seat, and now he's failed to keep his promise with me. You gave me the hint to use them. Said it was a must. On things on the list within the period I set. Right. Okay. So it's not specified what he wanted Thelma to do, but I guess Thelma himself tried to be like, okay, well, I'll get this thing done for Argalia so he doesn't kill me and get rid of Section 2 all in one go. I don't think he was expecting Section 2 to fail at the library, and I think that might be where his plan went entirely wrong. Interesting. We haven't even checked out Eugen's page yet. This might actually shed some more light on the subject, so maybe we should get on with it. Already been 26 minutes. And we're on the first one! Fuck! I need to stop waxing lyrical. Argalia, alias the Blue Reverberation, the person who is known to furtively cause incidents. Recently, he is suspected of recruiting individuals wielding powers that are possibly related to the distortion phenomenon in an attempt to form an organization. He succeeds. As well as prying into his plots, I intend to hamper his efforts myself before collecting data and presenting evidence of his irregular activity to the head. As the Blue Reverberation's plot was already in motion, I needed to act quick and do the least I could to stop him. However, Sheer Association was too fatigued from the barrage of requests, so I asked Full Stop Office to deal with the Church of Gears, whose leader seemed to harness a power that resembles the distortion, but I haven't heard from them since. Perhaps they were eliminated in their mission at the hands of the Church, or if the Blue Reverberation expected the Fixer's arrival and toyed with them, then I will definitely have to get to the library and read their books. There was evident rationale to read the books of the musicians of Bremen as well, for they could contain even the slightest hint on the Blue Reverberation's plots he might have told them. Even I do not know the man in detail, admittedly. However, because I am certain that the Blue Reverberation is conspiring something that violates or will violate the rules stipulated by the head, I must gather crucial evidence and report it. I know how corrupt this association is. I am woefully aware of Thelma's cunning and unhinged purpose behind saddling Section 2 with one request after another and wearing us down. I am but waiting for the right time, waiting and enduring until I seize the chance to bring the Sheer back to glory. I firmly believe that everything will take a turn for the better once I take care of this work. I pledge to change the system with my hands, no matter what. Unfortunately, she was so worn down when she got to us that she couldn't win, which is good because she would have over 200 health if she was operating at max capacity? Yeah, 268, or in my case, 271 health as standard. But of course, as a result of her stuff, she starts a battle with 75% less HP. Now, I do think it's fun to actually have key pages be like representative of the character's current state as well, but I do think it's weird that we get that as a book. We get Eugen's state on at time of death as her book. Like, I understand why this is the case from a gameplay perspective, because getting Eugen's page at full strength this early in the game would be absurd. Indeed, even a late game this would be kind of absurd, because that amount of health is ridiculous. You could tank most encounters in the game. But from a lore perspective, this makes little sense, because if we got her book, which is the culmination of her entire being, basically, surely we would have gotten her at full strength. Kazuna Extreme Fatigue is not a fighting style, it's her dealing with the situation she was saddled with. She did not intentionally hurt herself to make herself stronger. She was just dealing with the situation. So it makes little sense that upon getting Eugen's page that we would also have Kazuna and Extreme Fatigue. But gameplay-wise, it makes a lot of sense, and it's an interesting set of builds. I think we've discussed most we need to discuss about that, to be honest, about the shear. Let's move on to the puppets. Life in the nest isn't anything special, honestly. It's the same the whole world over. You get pecked by your boss and go through mountains of workloads. You find yourself working overtime pretty much every day. I'm sorry, Cloudy is huffing and puffing and wandering around. I'm down here with my dogs. They're being very good though. You find yourself working overtime pretty much every day. Payday isn't all that exciting either when you realize that you barely get any money for yourself after paying for maintenance, credit cards, insurance, living expenses and all that. Most of your income's gone in a flash. And then back to work. I have my ways of enjoying the little things in life though. When I come home from work, I crack open a cold one and watch the back streets. Cloud, shut up. Cloud. Cloud. Do a big shush. Do a big shush. No, that's not a shush. That's a loud cloud. When I come back home from work, I crack open a cold one and watch the back streets through the window as night falls. When I'm lucky, I can see people chasing each other or getting into a tussle, and I think, oh, I sure hope that person manages to get away. I'm just being a hypocrite, of course. We're all simply watching it for fun, don't you agree? It's like a TV show. Viewers aren't genuinely concerned for the people on the rectangular screen. All they care about is guessing who will win. So many unrealistic and varied situations take place in the streets, it actually feels as if I'm watching television. Don't call me out for being inhumane. Who knows? Maybe someone is watching me work myself to the bones from a high-rise holding a glass of wine in their hand. Yeah. Your justification is lacking. Extremely. And it's actually a surprisingly well-written page, because to begin with, you start to actually sympathize and be like, oh yeah, I guess life in the nest sucks. And then it ends with, I like to drink beer and watch people murder each other. I like to watch peasants murder each other, actually. It's very funny. And you're like, oh, fucking hell. Ah, you deserve everything you got, you bastard. Everything. Jae-hon is a working-class hero. You ignore everything else he did. Money rules this city. Every denizen of the city is obsessed with money to the point of popularizing the belief that money can be thrown at almost any problem. While the earnings of an average nest resident are significantly higher than those of a person inhabiting the back streets, there's also a notable wage gap among the nest inhabitants. One thing to keep in mind is that your position in your job doesn't always guarantee a high income. No matter how high your rank is in a small enterprise, you might not earn much more than a fixer in the Section 6 of an association. Even if your financial gain is on the higher side, you likely won't earn enough to waste extravagantly, meaning you won't get to take first-class seats on warp trains all the time or load the table with a sumptuous feast. However, it will be enough money to secure a stable life in the nest. People who earn 4 million on or more per month can be considered the upper middle class. That's where the quality of life sees a visible increase. You no longer have to worry about being evicted from the nest for being unable to pay taxes, and you can even hire fixers to keep you safe. You can save up in case of emergencies or send your children to better schools. A life lived in safe haven, free of illness and starvation. Well, that's the life of an upper middle class they all talk about. What is there to be considered special? You just earn a bit more than others and live in a bit more comfort than others. Funny that the richer person is actually less of an asshole, as far as I can tell, than the other one was, but then again, we're only getting a snippet of their life here. How do they get that money by chance? It's definitely the two sides of it. On the one hand, there are the rich people who are just straight up assholes, or the nest dwellers, we should say, who are straight up assholes, like the first one, whom deserve what they got coming to them. And then there's these guys who it's like, they're rich, but they're not, like, They're just rich. They're not doing anything wrong. They are just in fortunate circumstances. And then it becomes a bit more unfair that Yehon went for them. But Yehon doesn't care about the specifics. He's just too angry, really. Hi, Cloud. Hi, buddy. Hi. You're a good boy. You're a good boy. Yeah? Yeah, you're a good boy. Yeah. You're a good boy. 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 Hey. Ow, my ear. You barked in my ear. You silly boy. What are you doing? You little buddy. Good boy. Oh. 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 You're a sweet little dog, aren't you? You're a sweet little man. I say little dog, he's actually a golden retriever, he's fucking huge. Oh, you buddy, you're a big boy. You're not a big boy? No, you're a little boy? You're a little boy? Yeah, you're He's a little boy. He's just a little boy. Stop knocking my mouse off the chair. You little poop bag. What are you doing? J-Corp owns the nest of gambling. Every person here devotes their life to those insane games of chance. Emma and I check the security cameras placed in affiliated facilities and spot anyone who cheats. We get hundreds of calls every day. Please check if the person in a dark red coat at N9281R231 used a sleight of hand to switch cards. I think my table was rigged at Q1980F1929. I think they're using marbles that weigh 0.1 grams more in the roulette at K192RO29, etc. A variety of creative and absurd calls flood the lines all the time. What's so difficult about watching the security feed all day, you ask? Sure, you could think that if you're unfamiliar with how things work here, but imagine having to check the feeds for tens and even hundreds of rooms that have 10 cams each. The workload is spread over multiple people, of course, but each of us still has dozens of screens to stare at. It makes my eyes spin like a top. Besides, some people are sneaky enough to pull trickery off camera, and some incidents might occur during maintenance hours. This job is such a busy one, 2 eyes just aren't enough. When you're checking one case, another call comes in. When you're done checking that, more calls wait for you. The shortage of manpower is driving me crazy, I swear. So it sounds like our boy Noah just wasn't very good at LobCorp, I guess. Because that's pretty much what I did 42 videos of, was just checking the feed. And being like, did that Abno just do something? Did that person just die? What happened? But ironic, I suppose, that Noah's job did involve, you know, having to have eyes everywhere, and then they ended up with an additional pair of eyes. Yeah, I didn't know they worked for J-Corp. I think it was mentioned, but I don't think I had any context for what J-Corp was at the time. Each nest has its singularity. For example, W-Corp has Warp, a fast and reliable means of transportation that's guaranteed to deliver you to your destination on time. F-Corp has Fairies, which can unlock anything that's considered locked, physically or conceptually. G-Corp has spheres that can control gravity, and so on. J-Corp's singularity is pretty much the opposite of F-Corp's. It's a technology that can lock and seal something that's open or exposed on a conceptual level. Of course, the range or size of things that can be locked will depend on how much you pay. Cheap ones are mostly used for locking small boxes and other personal belongings, while expensive ones can seal in an area of space so that nothing can come inside, or even lock a person's body to prevent it from being dissected. The technology has a pretty wide range of applications. You can lock basically anything that's open in one sense or another. Could it be that this singularity was created because our nest, where J-Corp is located, is a nest of gambling that holds a smart few secrets that shouldn't be leaked? Beats me. Not like anything good will come out of knowing the real reason anyway. Locking and unlocking physically and conceptually, you can't introduce this kind of thing to your fictional setting, because that breaks everything. Because all you need to do is adequately explain how something can be unlocked conceptually, and you can do whatever you want. I decided to unlock this person's ribcage. Now they're dead. I've decided to lock in this person's life, which means they will not die despite what I do to them. It's absurd, and I can't remember if that's actually what was involved with a previous story about someone being put on a fucking spike and being left there to rot but still alive. I don't think that was this corpse singularity. I think it was something else, but I don't know. It could have been. But this is absurd. You just can't have this. This is dumb. It's not dumb. It's dumb in the sense that it's over the top and ridiculous, but it's not actually dumb. I'm not saying this is a bad thing. It's just absurd. Because you have things like this. It's actually, thinking about it, it's really the total Warhammer concept, or indeed the Warhammer thing in general, where everyone is so ridiculous that they keep each other in check. Everyone is so overpowered that all the other factions who are also overpowered can't take them out because everyone has their own overpowered thing. In fact, the library feels practically juvenile in comparison to a lot of these corporations. If the night in the back streets were to be gone, the back streets will fall into even worse chaos than before. In other words, the night in the back streets is the rain that keeps this place in check. Because the night exists, people here show the least amount of human decency. Here's an example. You come home at the end of a hellish day, dragging your weary body to the sofa. You hope to get a small break lying on the couch and watching cheap entertainment shows. But guess what happens? Some crazy jerk upstairs turns up their speakerphone's volume to the max and makes obnoxious noises that will make your ceiling shake. Too bad. There goes your peaceful respite. You can't stand the noises getting to your head, so you decide to ask your neighbor to please be considerate and lower the volume. You want to talk this over without a fight, so you battle the furious urge a million times before you go upstairs. But then our unfriendly neighbor gives you a baffling reply when you confront them. I need some free time for myself too. I have gripes with my neighbors that I just live with, so you should do the same. Why make a huge fuss about the noise when it isn't even too loud? Blah blah. Talking out of their ass. What can you do though? Barely keeping your boiling anger inside, you go back down to your house, covering your ears with a pillow and yelling curse words as you try to sleep. Even if you told your landlord about it, they'd shrug off your complaint and smile like a saint, so there's no use speaking up about it. That's when the night of the back streets comes into play. First off, you block the entrance to that shithead's house before they return. Anything works. You could weld the door, use wooden planks, padlock the door, or whatever. Ensure that they can't enter their own house by any means, and go back to your home. Sometime later, they'll come back to find that the door to their house has been sealed shut. They'll struggle with the door before giving up, and they'll make a serious face as though they're trying to think of who could have done this ridiculous prank to them. Once they realize that it couldn't possibly have been anyone else's doing but yours, it'll be too late, because you'll be behind them, bashing their head in with a brick or some heavy object. Killing them right now would obviously break the rules, so you drag them to your house and enjoy a quiet rest. When the clock hits 3 AM, you drag the little shit outside and throw it in the middle of a relatively large street. You return to your home before it's too late and watch the scene from the window. The time is 3:13 AM. Sweepers crawl out of the dark and sweep the streets clean, collecting all the trash, including that noise pollutant. That's fucked, but that's brilliant. That's fucked, but that's brilliant. That's fucked, but that's brilliant. Considering the arrival of the sweepers, the night in the back streets as it were, it's basically a natural disaster that just occurs. And not even a natural disaster, it's just a natural occurrence that seems to occur. And people have already learned to use it to their own advantage in more nefarious ways than others. And I feel like there are a lot of potential applications for the night in the back streets. Like, it says it cleans up trash. What does that mean exactly? Does it specifically mean people, or do they just come out and fucking grab whatever they can? Because you can just chuck stuff out. I don't know, fly tipping is now not a crime, I guess, because the sweepers will take care of it. I think it's more organic material though, isn't it, really? So really, no one's ever going to catch you for a murder because the sweepers will take care of it. This is literally what Argalia was doing to Thelma. Although I don't think he was worried about getting caught as such. I think he was just sadistic. But, you know, that is a side effect. The back streets are our main stage of activity at night. When night falls, our world unfolds. At regular intervals, we start marching from the perimeter of a nest and sweep everything as we move forward. Even if someone stands in our way and attacks us, even if a powerful fixer kills a sweeper next to us who is our family, we pay no heed and continue onward, like a wave of water. We sweep everything in our way, except for those who are strong enough to resist it. From an edge of a nest to the opposite end, we march without break for 80 minutes until the night in the back streets ends. So it's just under an hour and a half. And it doesn't appear to be the entire back streets. It appears to be specific ones at specific times. It depends how many sweepers there are, I guess. I imagine there's quite a few. I imagine there are a lot of sweepers, so it could be all the back streets at once. Interesting though. And it's like, if you're caught out there, it's not too bad if you're strong enough, because they won't all converge on you to attack you. They literally just sweep what's in front of them. So if you kill the ones in front of you and you just stay still, they'll just go around you, which is strange, like a rock in the water. That is correct. We are conscious of the attention of people during the daytime. We practice caution. It would be a public nuisance to show up in broad daylight and cause a ruckus, and we have a set of rules that we abide to. Of course, if the head demands our service, we must assemble, day or night. Oh, and I believe there is a small misunderstanding between us. It is not by the will of us sweepers that the night in the backstreets has become a time when no deed is forbidden. Does it appear to you that every denizen of the backstreets disapproves of the rules? Anyone is allowed to commit terrible acts at night, and while there is nowhere to complain to if you are victimized, while this means terrible things can happen to you at night, it also means you are free to be the perpetrator of such a deed yourself. In fact, we do not see much benefit from the freedom of the nighttime other than being allowed to dine all we want. So night in the backstreets is basically, a nightly purge? It's basically just the purge. Our body is composed of liquid. Liquid is the substance that fuels our body. While humans maintain their form with the shell they call flesh and skin, we maintain our form with the suit we wear. If this liquid runs out, we will stop dead in place. Therefore, the liquid must always be filled, which is the reason we dine. This liquid is what constitutes and moves our body. But we also use the liquid to sweep the streets and dine. The method is simple. When we embed a hook connected to the fuel tank on our back into a human, they melt like a liquid. Cool. And then we consume that liquid to refuel. Without this shell, we would deform and spill on the ground like them. The liquid is patented with the approval of the head. You must change your body to become like us if you wish to join our family. Do not worry about side effects. Mother will give you all the assistance you need. We could all safely become a family thanks to her. So are they actually solid? Because apparently this liquid constitutes them. It is what they are. That's literally their physical being. No two prescripts are the same in any way, as well as their contents being completely different from each other. You can't expect when and where you'll receive one. It could be placed between the patties of the hamburger you're holding, it could be in your mailbox, it could be handed to you by a passerby. However, if you question who delivers those prescripts or where they come from, and put your curiosity into action, the proxies will come for you, so beware. Here's a few examples of the prescripts. To Remy, deliver a bacon pizza to Danny's doorstep on 8th Street before 10 AM sharp on September 14th. To Jamin, do not utter a single word for 5 days. To Sahi, if the first person you meet outside today answers your greetings by lifting their right hand, take their heart out. If the person ignores your greetings, remove your own heart from your body. Oh, and this is the only scratching the surface of the shambolic orders written on the prescripts. The contents of a prescript range from ordinary tasks to things that cannot be carried out in relatively normal, in terms of morality, means. The errant variety and creativity of the prescripts will make you wonder just what goes on in the head of the person responsible for writing them. Take a moment to think about how you would feel if you received a prescript that says chop off your right ankle and eat it medium rare. P.S. You don't have to eat the bones. You'd think this is an absurd instruction no sane person could follow, but those who belong to the index will feel glad that it doesn't require chopping off both feet or eating the bones. Yeah, I guess, just be grateful it isn't worse. It's so strange, intentionally, of course, it's intentionally strange. The whole point is that it's a completely alien concept, and then that is the morality of the parts in the game when talking about it. It's like, why would you just follow this stuff? And it's because the index keeps them safe. But we never really properly confirmed what the city, the heart of the city, or what the hell any of this actually is. The index itself. It's implied that, I don't know, some vibrations cause it to write certain words, and if it was just vibrations, say for example it was just, this machine is so far in the ground that it picks up on tectonic vibrations or something like that, it wouldn't make legible words. It would just be scribbles. But these make specific actions with names. And as far as I can tell, the prescripts are not altered after their creation. So there's something going on there. They aren't going to raise the ticket prices or run fewer trains like the last time, are they? What do you mean, Cap? Lobotomy Corp, the company that was supplying our energy needs, went down recently. That's a good point. It's harder to operate the trains with less energy. What do you mean by last time, though? Oh, you're too new to know. Back in the day, L Corp's nest was occupied by another energy company. So that company putted out and put our corporation into the same sort of energy shortage we're dealing with now. Not quite. It did go bust eventually, but it's more that the company was stingy about sharing its energy. Awfully strict, too. I heard it had a bad reputation amongst its partner companies. Because they were so tight-assed about energy supply, we had to reduce the number of trains running at the same time for a while. I had no idea. Don't count on me though, I also picked the story up from my superior. That's enough chittering, let's get back to work. So there was another energy company in the same place as LobCorp. I wonder if they used the same energy. I can't imagine they were using abnormalities and all that crap. Angela does mention someone in, or something, an organization in Lobotomy Corporation that might be getting energy from hell itself. Maybe that's what the previous corporation did. And if they actually build upon that, that could be an effective way to tie Doom into this universe, and that would be pretty cool. But yeah, we don't have a lot to work with here. To restore the train, the passengers have to be in their seats. You have to be seated so the scanning program can detect your genomic data and put you back on the right seat. Oh, and the scanner has trouble reading things that are moving too much, so you should be nice and stay still in your seat, so the warp cleanup crew, like us, tidy up the carriages and put the passengers in their seats according to their genomic data, and with the press of a button, ta-da, everything goes back to normal as if nothing happened. I only learned this after I joined the Corp, but isn't that so cool? That's what we agents do. Sometimes the cleanup crew isn't enough for the job. What's so scary about dealing with humans, you ask? I heard this story from my seniors. One time, a color hid their identity and snuck onto the train. What a shocker that must have been. It's our rule to stop powerful people like colors or key members of associations from boarding our warp trains, or to guide them to take first class seats if they must board the train, for a safe and smooth restoration process. We want them to sleep without a care instead of joining in the chaos of the other carriages. That color fix was super tricky to deal with, they told me. Most passengers started training under the color's guidance in order to attain some kind of enlightenment, all but a few of our agents were pulverized by those people before they could even see a glimpse of the color. But we aren't totally powerless against those situations. We would have gotten into so many problems otherwise, yeah? In case things get too difficult for our agents to handle, we call R-Corp, a wing we've partnered with. I saw footage about R-Corp in our training course. They were so cool. That was my first time seeing the mercenaries in action. They'd keep pressing on and wipe their targets, no matter how harsh their resistance was. I was like, whoa, they really are something else. The fourth pack, was it called the Rabbit Team? Yeah, I think it was. I gotta wonder though, why rabbits of all animals? Isn't that herbivore? I love the idea of a color fixer being stuck on the train. Just like, if they realize a color fix is going on the train in the normal carriages, they're like, no, you're going to want to go somewhere else. Trust me. You don't know why, but trust me. And I wonder which color fixer it was. I guess there's been more color fixes than we know about, obviously, so they can talk about them so casually, but yeah, that'd be a surprise when you send in the cleanup crew and like basically Geb is on there. You thought opening gates to different dimensions was our singularity? That's actually a former singularity a fallen wing used to own. It wasn't a very well-known wing, so you probably won't even recognize it if I told you the name. Point is, that wing discovered a way to open gates between dimensions. The ability to create rifts in space. The wing sadly never knew how to utilize that stunning technology they'd found. The nest ended up falling before it could find a proper use for the singularity, and the company now known as W Corp spent a huge sum of money to purchase it. At first, people at this corp also struggled to think of a good way to use this tech. Even if it could make a big rip in space, entering it was a whole different matter. You don't know what's in there or if you can even come back. They had no idea, but soon enough, W Corp found a way to put this dimensional gate to use, which involves T Corp's technology. With a device made by T Corp that collects time installed in the train, not a single second really passes in the carriages, even if the train travels for thousands of years. It's the temporal preservation or whatever. That's what they apparently use, but it's too complicated for me. Anyway, whatever happens in the train, we revert it using our singularity of restoration, and T-Corp takes the time we collect for their own singularity. We're good business partners. This tech isn't just used for long-distance travel, it's applied to the weapons we use too. Equipment used by agents of W-Corp is specialized in tearing and cutting things apart. We can precisely cleave lumps into individual pieces with the help of the space-ripping technology. Hence the attack, Rip Space, which is awesome. I love the Warp Corp combat pages, it's just a shame they don't really keep up at the end of the game. There are ways to utilize them, sure, but honestly, you only really utilize the shit ones. Not the shit ones, but the low-level ones, like Leap and Energy Strike and stuff like that. You don't get to really play with the fun ones anymore, because they're just not really strong enough, unless you can make them strong enough, but I didn't have a lot of success with them. Many people are under the impression that W Corp's singularity is quick transportation via teleportation. That's how our technology is advertised to the public, anyway. They aren't strictly wrong, we're just hiding the bigger picture from them. W Corp's singularity is the restoration of a previous status. To put it in layman's terms, even if your body is crushed to a pulp, it can be restored to a recorded state as long as all the pieces remain. First off, we scan the molecular structures, genomic data, and other information of the passengers required for their restoration when they sit in their seats. The scanned data is stored in the transmission device inside the train, ready to be sent to the restoration machine. With that, any and all kinds of pandemonium into which the carriages may have turned can be reverted with a single button. The machine has difficulty scanning life forms that move too much, so we need to take measures to subdue it. As with all singularities, it has small side effects. Some might leave the train with slightly more weight than before, or gain a bit of height. No one has filed a complaint about it, likely because the change is so minor that they just shrug it off as a matter of feelings, like the body feeling lighter because of their excitement for going on a trip, or it feeling heavier because they ate too much prior to boarding the train. Passengers don't remember what happened inside the train, but that's not because we use amnestics. It's the restoration procedure reversing the people's memories to a previous state rather than selectively erasing them. In plain language, everything goes back to how it was when it was scanned. The passengers will continue the conversations they were having when they first boarded the train, as if nothing happened. They won't notice any oddity or displacement in their dialogue. Any thoughts they had or words they were about to speak will be restored and resumed seamlessly. Warp trains are terrifying. Warp trains are one of the most terrifying things I can imagine. Because you've simultaneously gone through an experience that is more horrible and longer than anything you've ever experienced or ever will experience in your life. But then it's gone as if it never happened. In fact, it may as well have never happened, but it did happen, and you were there, and then you weren't there, and I don't know, man. It sounds awful. I don't know. It sounds like the worst thing ever. Hard pass on Project Moon trains. They are awful. The rules of the backstreets don't work in the nest, and the opposite's also true. You could drag a higher up working for whatchamacallit from the nest to the backstreets and do what's it to him and get away with it. As long as it was during the night in the backstreet and no sneaky rats saw you doing it. But if you did the same what's it in the nest, you'd be breaking rules. The night in the backstreets is only a thing in the backstreets, like the name suggests. Yeah, and they took advantage of this to get rid of Thelma. There's this one rule that stands squarely in this night lawless land. Doing any kind of harm to the residential area is forbidden. No invading people's homes, no demolishing them and all that. Not even the big and tough crooks of the fingers can touch this. I'm guessing they decided it's gotta stay the most what's it place. If you didn't know, the city's taboos are a huge deal. It's much more serious than taboos of the nest. You break it and your life's over right there and then. It's worth pointing out doing any kind of harm to the residential area. Not the residents, the residential area. That's worth taking into consideration. The backstreets aren't some unlivable mess like some folk are saying, you see. Rough things do happen often around here, sure, but there's some effort at peacekeeping going on to stop a whole lot of people dying all the harking time. Every area of the streets has some kind of neighborhood watch made out of local residents voluntarily doing jobs like fixers do, trying to make the backstreets a safer place. Unlike the so-called Public Safety Association that starts with a Z, whatever that stuffy org is called, SVI, the Neighborhood Watch ain't chained to any official authority, nor do they ask for huge fees. Each area's got different styles of neighbors, so not everyone in every corner of the town likes them. Most folks do appreciate that they're keeping them safe, though. I've literally never heard of a Neighborhood Watch in this game until right now. Makes sense, they gotta defend themselves somehow. They call the backstreets unsafe because there's this one time of the day when darkness comes out and your friendly Neighborhood Watch can't do jacks about it. The night in the backstreets when the the night in the backstreets when the city shuts its eyes. Breaking any rules are forgiven during that time. It means to protect yourself from harm like recording videos or hiring peacekeepers, all rendered useless, and those rusty old fellas sweep every corner of the streets, so no evidence is left behind. No corpses, no weapons, no nothing. Not only do all the security measures stop, peeking at folk as a whole is banned during these hours. Well, stumbling on the scene of the crime ain't banned. What it really means is, you ain't supposed to record videos of the scene or spy with security cams. No one should be strolling through the streets that late in the first place. Because of that, they don't ask a darn thing about crimes happening during that time unless an eyewitness shows up. They just can't. If I'm being blunt, the public institutions, you know the deal, those shuck and shucks at the head, fixer associations, vigilance peeps and the like, if one of those officials try to take a dig at something that happened during the night in the backstreets, some scary fellas called the Claws go after him. Oh boy. I hear the night in the backstreets is considered a what's it time for doing whatchamacallit permitted by the head. I've got no dang clue why they set a time like this when every soul is already frightened to the bone. No matter what folks say, the night in the backstreets starts at 3:13 and ends at 4:34. Ne'er too early or late by a single second, every time. I guess population control, I don't know, purging, it feels more like a means by which to just, everything kind of feels like a means by which to stop people in the city from actually putting up any kind of resistance to the head. Not that the head is really in any kind of danger because of the amount of power they have, but they really do take this seriously where they're like, there will be no resistance in the city whatsoever. Even the criminals don't fuck with the head. Even they pretty much act according to the head's, intentions. And if they don't, they die. Pretty simple. Our last one for today is Philip. Sorry, I get how you feel, but I'll need more time to think about this. Ellipses. Are you feeling down? No, I'm fine, I get it. This was rather sudden and you'll need some time to collect your thoughts. Thanks for understanding. You know, you're a very caring person. I guess Gramps picked the right rookie to hire. Is that so? Thank you. I couldn't say anything beyond that. I tried to think positively about it, convincing myself that I wouldn't want to see Sionbei feel troubled because of me in the future. Clinging onto it further would only make me seem pathetic. Although Sionbei didn't decline my confession outright, it felt safer to think of it as a refusal so I wouldn't get my head in the clouds and make another attempt at it. I shouldn't have held any expectations in the first place. I thought I'd feel like a load had been taken off my chest after I'd confessed my pent-up feelings to her, but I couldn't even bring myself to look Sionbei in the eyes. I didn't see it. I found myself looking for excuses. It's not because I'm a coward. It's not because I was afraid that I might be faced with darkness I can't possibly handle if I lift my head. No, I just looked at the shade so I could see a brighter light, that's all. That thought made me feel a bit easier. I don't know what expression Sionbei wore at the time. Was she grinning at my nonsense or was she upset? All I can think is that she was probably giving me a look of disgust. You gave a fine speech, but I must wonder if you're truly upset for the sake of Salvador and your other late colleagues. I'll go prepare myself. I closed the door on my way out. Was it because I didn't want to hear any more of it? Did I lack the energy to refute him? I had no time to reflect on the reason I left my seat. The one thing I couldn't stand was him putting the blame on me for leaving my master and Sionbei behind in that place they called the library when I escaped so that I could bring others to save them. A wise person once said that you must close your ears when someone utters useless words or speaks with harmful intention. Is the uselessness of a talk determined solely by one's own standards? Maybe Oscar was right, but are his words useless and wrong because they distressed me? Maybe I just didn't want to accept it. Consoling myself that I need some time to focus only on the grief of losing my master and Sionbei, I covered my ears. You're pausing it at just the right moment like it's a rerun you've watched over and over. There's got to be a reason. Shut up. Shut the hell up. Sometimes the human brain has difficulty telling reality from illusion. Watching a horror film incites fear even though you know it's fiction. However, it's not always easy to discern the truth. They're standing right before my eyes, reproaching me, but I can't dismiss them as mere illusions, even though they're dead, gone. There was no way they could be real. It doesn't make sense that I know what they're about to say otherwise. When Sionbei was about to speak, I shut her up, as though I knew what was going to unfold. What could I gain from uttering what will harm me? Self-justification? Those words would have wounded me for sure, but they were also words that would protect me. Yet again, I'm running away from truth, vilifying others. It made me feel a bit better. Pamela was right. All I had to do was make up reasons that are convenient to me. It's not my fault at all. They're the bad ones. It's derisive how shallow my admiration for my master and Sionbei was, changing my attitude toward them so easily out of selfish self-preservation. Nothing is more beautiful than knowing the truth, and therefore nothing must be more shameful than admitting that what one believed in was a lie. I could have sworn I acknowledged my vice and embraced it. Although the process was a little unstable, I still felt ashamed for the truthless deeds I'd done, and decided to cherish that negative part of myself as I am. Or so I thought. I stopped talking. I couldn't even tell what was appropriate to speak anymore. So that's actually really interesting because it shows the different aspects of Philip shutting himself off to the world. This first one, he shuts his eyes. He doesn't look at God, I can't even remember her name right now, so I'm just going to say Sionbei. He doesn't look at her. On this second one, he doesn't listen. And on this third one, he doesn't speak. And there, the full process of becoming the crying children happens. Philip, you could have been cool. You could have been. You almost were. You were so close to being cool, actually. Very, very close. I'm kind of disappointed, actually. This is a weird thing to complain about. Actually, let me confirm to see whether or not this is true. Okay, I don't think it's here. I'm kind of disappointed that you don't get Philip's normal appearance, the one he has before he starts to manifest ego, because it's actually a really cool one. I like this. I do like more simplistic outfits, I have to say. Just him in his normal suit with his normal sword was actually a pretty cool look, and I would have liked to have had it available. I don't even know if I would have used it that much. I just would have liked to have had access to it. But it has to be said, this version of him is really cool. It just doesn't make a lot of sense for a librarian to have it. But then again, a lot of these don't make sense, like these and these and this one and that one and this and that. And there are many that don't make sense, but I would have liked to have had Philip's original gear at the very least. But that's all for today, ladies and gentlemen. I managed to get through the entirety of Urban Nightmare. I'm pretty sure I didn't miss a single one. I don't know why I just right-clicked. My brain is bad. I'm pretty sure I didn't miss any of these, although I was pretty sure I didn't miss any before, and it turned out I did. But at least I know I've got every single entry in the game now, so as we go through, we will not miss any due to just not having them. We'll probably miss them because I'm an idiot. But next time, it'll be Star of the City, and that will be interesting. There's a lot here. There's a lot here. There is a lot. I'm going to have to split this one into multiple. For sure. There's no way I'll get all this done reasonably within one episode. 4 there. 5 there. 3 there. 1 there. Not too bad. 3 there. 3 there. 1 there. Not too bad. 7 there. 1 there. 1 there. 1 there. And then 2, 4, 6, 8. 10. 10 there. That's a lot of books. I mean, I'll try and do it all in one go. If I can, that would make things a lot quicker and a lot easier. But I won't push myself too hard. If I need to split it up a bit, I will. Reverberation Ensemble is going to take fucking ages. But yeah, we'll deal with that next time. Well, actually, Imperatus Civitatis will be the time after. Next time will be Star of the City. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. It's good to do this again. I actually kind of enjoyed it. Special thanks to Beep, Adash Sanjeev, Alkir, Honeydew Corporation, Sweet Baby Red, MB Alias, The Old Man River, Lord Skullington, Jessicitty, Plutonio Pie, Dreamer Ghost, Leper Lullaby, K-Bub, Magical, The Frostbite, Monsoon, Some World, Jumping with Joy, Warmaster Oku, SCP-106A, Namad, and Kenny800 for supporting me on Patreon. Thank you so much, guys, and thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate I haven't done anything Project Moon related since the ending of Ruina, and that is because I did want to start focusing on some other things, but as much as I do want to focus on some other things because I'm not primarily a PM channel, I am still very grateful to all of you who are big PM fans who came here because you enjoyed my PM content, and I am planning to do more, not just the book club. The book club is the first thing I want to get out of the way because these reading episodes are fine, and I do kind of enjoy them a bit, but they're definitely not the thing I enjoy the most, and I really have to kind of force myself to do them. So I just want to get this out of the way. And then we've got a bunch of other stuff we can do. There's Limbus Company, there's Ruina mods for stuff, there's Lobotomy Corporation mods for stuff, there's more things I want to do with LobCorp, there's more things I want to do with Ruina. There's still Limbus Company, right? I still need to play that. There's a lot we're going to do, and I'm not dropping PM content entirely. And it shouldn't be too infrequent either that PM content goes up. I just wanted to focus on some other stuff first. I'm not forsaking you guys. Don't worry. Thank you so much for watching. Whatever happens next time, and it will be, I've forgotten the name of it, Star of the City. It's literally right there. Next time we'll be covering Star of the City, and I will lose my voice, and I'm going to kill that dog because it keeps barking. Yes, Hope, I'm talking about you. She's looking at me. Defiant and uncaring. But that's what will happen next time, and I hope I see you there. Toodles. Goodbye.